If you're shopping for the best full-frame mirrorless camera in 2026 without overspending, this is your shortlist. We'll rank these on image quality, autofocus reliability, stabilization, and total kit cost once you add lenses. So by the end, you'll know which one fits your shooting style and budget. Let's get into it. Starting off at number 5, we're kicking things off with a camera that earns this spot by being the do-it-all body so many people actually want. The Sony Alpha 7 Mark IV. For me, this is the cleanest pick on the list for a hybrid shooter. The 33-megapixel sensor sits in a real sweet spot. Enough resolution to crop and print, but not so much that your files get bloated and your low light suffers. You get genuinely good dynamic range and high ISO performance you can lean on at events or indoors. Now the part that matters in real use. The autofocus. Sony's hybrid system covers most of the frame with real-time IAF, and what comes up again and again in reviews is that it rarely hunts or misses. For fast-moving subjects, that AF tracking is the difference between keeping a shot and trashing it. Animal and bird eye detection is in there too, which wildlife and pet shooters will appreciate. On video, it records 4K up to 60 frames in 10-bit, with S-Cinetone baked in, so you get footage that already looks graded straight out of camera. And there's a review from Mike that sums up the appeal. The detail and color are outstanding in both photos and video, and the files hold up beautifully in post. Honestly, it works perfectly for me as a photographer and a content creator. When that's the common thread, I believe it. Here's the catch, and it's worth knowing. Some people report it getting warm during long video sessions. If you're filming extended 4K clips, plan around that. For most hybrid work, mixing stills and shorter takes, it's a non-issue. One more practical win. Dual card slots and battery life that gets you through a real shoot before a recharge. And the E-mount lens ecosystem is huge, so building your kit and holding resale value is easy. This is the all-rounder for anyone stepping up to full frame who shoots a bit of everything. The link is in the description. Moving to number 4, we've got the camera for anyone who's been eyeing full frame but kept stalling at the price. The Canon EOS RP with the RF24-105 kit lens. For me, this is the cleanest gateway into full frame on the list. You get a real 36 by 24mm sensor, which means better low light performance and that shallow depth of field you can't fake on a crop body. And the whole thing is genuinely light. Buyers say it again and again, they can carry it all day with the zoom attached and never feel weighed down. For travel and walk-around shooting, that portability matters more than most spec sheets admit. The kit lens is the smart part of this bundle. 24-105 covers wide landscapes, portraits around 50-85, and a bit of reach at the long end. One lens, almost everything you'd shoot day to day. It also has optical stabilization rated up to 5 stops, which helps you get sharp handheld shots when the light drops. Now the catch, and you should know it going in, that lens is slow. The aperture runs from f4 to f7.1, so in dim rooms or at night, it struggles. And the background blur isn't as creamy as a fast prime. Most owners end up adding a cheap 50mm later for portraits and indoor work. Treat the zoom as your flexible base, not your only glass, and you'll be happy. On video, keep expectations grounded. The 4K has a heavy crop, and the autofocus gets shaky in that mode, so a lot of people just shoot in 1080 for casual clips. The autofocus for stills, though, is fast and dependable for family, travel, and everyday portraits. So who's this for? Someone stepping up from an APS-C body who wants real full-frame image quality without draining the bank. If that's you, this kit hits the sweet spot of price, size, and quality. The link is in the description. Moving to number 3, we've got the Nikon Z6 III, a camera that earns this spot by being the reliable workhorse, not the spec sheet champion. For me, the appeal here is balance. 24.5 megapixels on a backside illuminated sensor. That resolution isn't trying to win a bragging contest. It's the sweet spot for clean, low-light files and manageable sizes. If you shoot weddings, events, or dim venues, this is the kind of body you stop fighting with. The autofocus is where the second version really separates itself. It locks onto eyes for people and animals, and it pushes down to around -4.5 EV in a dark reception hall. That's the difference between a keeper and a blurry mess. Owners who came from the original Z6 keep saying the same thing. The AF went from hit and miss to something you actually trust. And if these comparisons are helping you sort through the noise, subscribing really supports the channel and helps us keep making them. Now the durability piece, which doesn't show up in marketing. There's a creator who ran around 115,000 frames through this body. Rock solid build, dependable battery, no card drama across long shooting days. When someone leans on a camera that hard and it just keeps going, that tells me more than any brochure. The dual card slots matter too. One CF Express or XQD, one UHS-2 SD. For paid work, having a backup writing in real time is peace of mind you can't put a price on. Here's the catch, and video shooters should know it. 4K at 60 frames uses an APS-C crop, so your wide lenses get tighter, and full-frame 4K caps at 30. For most hybrid work it's fine, but heavy video folks should plan their glass around it. The AF also isn't a pure sports specialist for erratic subjects like birds in flight. For everyday portrait and event work though, it's more than capable, and the Z-Lens ecosystem keeps growing. Plus you can adapt old F-mount glass with the FTZ adapter. The link is in the description. Moving to number 2, we've got the Nikon Z5 II, and what puts it this high is simple. It borrows the brain from Nikon's Pro bodies and drops it into something far more affordable. That brain is the X-Speed 7 processor, same engine that runs Nikon's flagship line. In practice, that means the autofocus and subject detection here punch way above what the price tag suggests. It reads 9 types of subjects automatically: people, birds, dogs, cars, planes. For a hybrid shooter who switches between a portrait and a kid running across the yard, that AF tracking is what keeps you from missing the shot. Now compare this to the Nikon further down the list. Both sit on a 24-megapixel backside illuminated sensor, so the image quality and low-light files are in the same family. But this one's processing is a clear generation ahead. The autofocus is quicker, the detection smarter, and the buffer handles those 30 frames per second bursts without choking. Here's the spec that genuinely impresses me. Autofocus down to -10e. That's focusing in light so dim your own eyes are struggling. Pair that with 7.5 stops of IBIS, and handheld low-light work stops being a gamble. Dark reception, candlelit dinner, night street shots. This body just locks on. The viewfinder deserves a mention too. 3,000 nits of brightness, which means in harsh midday sun, you can actually see what you're framing. Anyone moving over from a DSLR will feel right at home. The trade-off: the video has a slight crop in some of the higher frame rate modes, and the rolling shutter shows up if you whip the camera around fast. So for serious gimbal action work, you'd plan your shots a bit, but for 4K at 60 frames, 10-bit color, and clean and raw straight out of camera, it's a strong hybrid tool. For someone stepping up who wants pro-level autofocus without the pro-level spend, this is one of the smartest value plays in the whole lineup. The link is in the description. Before we reveal our number 1, be sure to check out the description below for the freshest deals on each of these items. And at number 1, the camera that pulls off the hardest trick on this list. Big performance in the smallest, lightest full-frame body Canon makes. The Canon EOS R8. For me, this takes the top spot on pure value for money. It takes the guts from Canon's pricier R6 line and drops them into something you'll actually carry. Same 24-megapixel sensor, same Digis X processor. So, the image quality and the autofocus punch way above what the size suggests. Now, where it earns its keep. The dual-pixel autofocus covers the whole frame, with deep learning subject detection that locks onto people, animals, and vehicles. And they kept adding to it. Planes, trains, even horses. For a hybrid shooter chasing kids, pets, or fast action, that tracking is what keeps your keepers. On video, it's genuinely strong. Uncropped 4K up to 60 frames, oversampled from 6K, so the footage looks crisp and detailed. You get 10-bit color and Canon Log 3 for grading. Rolling shutter is also far better controlled than older Canon bodies when you pan quick. Here's the catch, and you should weigh it. There's no in-body stabilization, so you lean on stabilized lenses or a gimbal for smooth handheld video. It also runs a single card slot and a smaller battery, so for all-day paid work, pack spares. None of that knocks it off the top for me, because what you're really getting is full-frame low-light performance and flagship autofocus in a body that travels light and costs far less than it should. For the hybrid creator who wants the most camera per dollar, this is the smartest buy in the whole lineup. The link is in the description. Now you've got the criteria, so you don't get burned by the first one that looks good. If you're stepping up to full frame on a budget, number 4 gets you there. If you want pro-level autofocus for the money, number 2. And if you want the most camera per dollar for hybrid work, number 1 is the smartest buy. Amazon prices go up and down. Check them in the links in the description.